Hi, everybody. My name is G Brown, the lifestyle changer, and you have tuned in to some gastric gossip. We are today covering surgery experiences. I had the sleeve, Adrian had the actual gastric bypass. We're going to discuss our surgery experiences and recovery, dietary adaptations and challenges, some long-term health and wellness, lifestyle impact, and we're going to reflect and give some advice towards the end. I will go right ahead and start. Hey, Adrian, can you share your experiences undergoing your gastric bypass surgery and what led you to choose that particular surgery?
Hey G, my name is Adrian. I've been in a wellness and weight loss struggle, and it really took off when I was on the TV show The Biggest Loser. That was about 18 years ago. So on that show, I started about 227. I get down, I lose 66 pounds, and I'm like, I'm the king of the world. I'm the queen of the world. I'm doing so great. I felt so great. I worked so hard, restricting and running. And then guess what happened? It all came back, plus more. It's like my body was fighting me, but I had no idea. I just blamed myself. I thought, "Oh my gosh, I've worked so hard and I just can't do this. There's something wrong with me." And for like 10 years, I go up and down and up and down and up and down. And finally, I'm like, I've had enough. I was in the 260s for most of my 20s. And when I had my second child, I got preeclampsia. I get up to 330 pounds. And at this point, too, my hormones are way off. And I'm like, oh, I am so tired of being big. I've tried TV, I've tried restricting and running, I've run half marathons, I've done all this, and I'm just desperately, I need help. And I look around at other biggest losers who are losing it and keeping it off, and some of them had bariatric surgery. And I was so desperate to not be big anymore that if they would have given me I think it's called the dual dangle switch, where you have to be like 500 pounds, I think, to get that one. They say you will have nutritional deficiencies for sure for the rest of your life. But if they would have offered that extreme surgery to me, I would have had it. I was so desperate because was so tired of being big, and I had that taste when I was on The Biggest Loser of being small, and I also felt this immense pressure of, like, people looked to me to lose this weight. People looked to me to keep it off, and then here I am, 265 pounds and struggling, and I was just so desperate that I went with gastric bypass. I wanted that reassurance I was given that not only would it be hard to eat large amounts of food anymore, but I would also have that malabsorption piece. And I thought, well, thank God, even if I eat too much food, hopefully some of it just won't absorb. Other thing that I had tried, there were these pills you could take that would grab onto all your fat. I forget what it was called. And when you pooped, there was like oil in the water. My thing, it was like eating disorder-ish a little bit, that I just didn't want anything I was eating to be absorbed. I wished that I could eat but be the same as an anorexic. I wished that it would just flush right through me. Some of the side effects they told me right from the beginning would be that I could have the flushing, where if you eat, let's say, ice cream, that'll just flush right through you. And I was like, oh, that would be perfect. That'd be great if I ate too much or ate something that was not optimal. If it would just flush right through me, that would be perfect. So in my mind, that's what I wanted, and I was determined to get this. Nobody in my family wanted me to have this. I wouldn't listen to them. They were all like, "Could you just keep trying? Don't alter your body." And I was just like, "No, no, 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 no," because I was ready to not be big again, and I was ready to get what I felt like was my life back. There was this emotional toll as well as a physical toll, to be big, especially after being on TV, to be big again. It was just really weighing on my heart. Um, I used to, I used to compare myself to people a lot. That's something I used to do a lot. And so I just felt like I was always the biggest person in the room. And to be honest, surgery didn't fix that. That's something that had to be worked on between here. And I know a lot of people have body dysmorphia. I definitely have had to struggle and work through that. So that was my first. That is why I picked it. That's what I picked. Why and what did you pick?
Excellent question. Okay, so for me, I did the gastric sleeve. And so let's go back because it was 11 years ago. And during that time, that was around, so I need to go back 11 plus 4, 15 years ago. I was dealing with an illness with my oldest daughter. And oh, my health was out the door at that point because I was focused on her. I owned a child care facility. I'm taking care of other people's children. And then I'm like, wait a minute, what about mine? So I ended up shutting down the daycare and just really concentrating on my kid. But saying that, my type of work schedule, I was putting in probably 16 hours a day. When you own something, you really just gave away all your time. And my eating was horrific, up, down, up, down, up, down. Um, More concerned with her and what she was going through. Let me see, make a long story short, at the age of 30, she died in my arms. And at that point, it was, I didn't know if I was coming or going. And my weight was out the door. And I said that I have so much that I'm dealing with. Weight cannot be one. Now, if you notice, I didn't say health. I said weight because
Mm-hmm.
most of us, if you big and you feel halfway decent, then you really, really don't. You're used to going up, down, and you can sit there and go ahead and eat. I know I've done it, been there. As a matter of fact, let me see, I even did this. Let me just show you real quick. There you go. That to the left is where I started in 2013 and 2012 and 2010 and all of that. The last time I weighed myself, it was 260. So I'm pretty sure it had got up to more than that. And then I was 48 years old. And then we had the gastric sleeve down here. And then as you can see, the weight just went up and down until now, where I am 139 pounds, 59 and getting ready to turn 60. And with that being said, uh, wait, for me, smaller was the thing. So I went through the process a couple of times because the first time they didn't offer the sleeve. I went back, they did offer the sleeve. And once again, when the doctors and everything are talking and they have people up there, all you see is smaller. And if you
Mm-hmm.
have some health issues, okay, then maybe I won't have the health issues. But right now, you got me on some medicine anyway. So I'm kind of okay with that. And that's normally how we are. For me, my pain level had got up, um out the door for me. And so I had the surgery. And then let me show you how foolish I was. Prior to going in, the morning of, I'm looking at the doctor and I said, look at here, I don't know what you all use to gauge. And what it was is that they stick a um I'm gonna call it a pipe for lack of a better term. And then the pipe is what's there, and then they go around uh with the mechanics because they don't cut you all the way open, and then they stapled and cut around it. And then I foolishly said, look, whatever the smallest you can make this stomach, that's what I
Mm-hmm.
need you to do. So you end up adding little things because somewhere they've taught us reduce the calories and you'll lose the weight. And honestly, that is not how I lost weight. I did not lose weight. I just showed you I didn't lose weight from that surgery and keep it off. It came back, and I developed high blood pressure after the surgery. A couple of weeks after the surgery, I'm a spicy food eater. I'm thinking, okay, surgery is done. I'm going to be okay. And no, now I'm starting to have this churning and burning sensation of the acid in my stomach. But then it's like, give it some time, give it some time. And honestly, time did not cure that particular one. I'm going to move over into talking about our dietary adaptations. So, how did your diet habits change after the gastric bypass, Adrian?
You know what I skipped was my recovery and what happened there. But I also want to say one more thing that got me to take this surgery was I had quit drinking. As soon as I had my kids, I quit drinking. I went to a 12-step program. Like I grew up with alcoholism in my family, and I just was not going to have that around my kids. So I get sober and I realize I am not sober with food. That's not the words I was using, but I knew that it was out of control. And so I knew, hey, you're going to shrink my stomach. That'll cure it. That'll cure it. We'll be sober with food now. And so after my surgery, um, everything was okay for 3 to 5 months, and I was slowly coming down, but then the hypoglycemia kicked in. And once the hypoglycemia started, and this is debilitating hypoglycemia, like I'm driving down the road, my blood sugar drops, and one time I had to call my parents to tell them I'm about to pass out because when your blood sugar drops like that, you got like maybe 60 seconds. Like it's going down fast. The ship is sinking. So I pull over and I pass out, and my parents have to come get me. I mean, that's how debilitating the hypoglycemia was. And the minute that that kicked in, my weight loss stopped. And I'll tell you why. Hypoglycemia like that, that was my body having a hormone reaction, and my insulin was just crazy. Nobody could ever tell me this. It's taken me 10 years to figure it out all on my own. But because I immediately went to the doctor, I said, "Oh my gosh, what's happening?" And they gave me sugar tabs and said, "Just take these whenever, every 10 minutes, whatever you need, just keep eating this sugar, and then your blood sugar will never drop." But what would happen is my blood sugar would drop. I'd, let's say, eat some peanut butter or eat some sugar. Let's say I eat a banana, my blood sugar would come back up. And then it would just dive right back down even worse. So, this eating sugar thing did not work. Now, insulin is a fat storage hormone. So now I'm having this overproduction of the fat storage hormone. Not to mention, every time you're hypoglycemic, you're starving to death. You're in fight or flight, and you're like, I got to eat something. I feel like I'm going to die. And so that stop your progression there. You got the hormone stopping your progression, and then you just don't feel good. So you're less likely to exercise. And that's when mine started going back up. And then also I've suffered from anemia and some vitamin deficiencies and autoimmune illness. The word you were looking for, G, was laparoscopic. They laparoscopically worked on all of us. They didn't necessarily cut us wide open. They stuck some tubes in and did everything with little cameras and stuff. So it almost feels like you didn't have this major surgery done because you've got a couple owies around your belly, but that's about it. Now, for dietary adaptations and changes for me, I followed the diet. They told us to, drink at first, just sip, sip, sip. I was drinking all the garbage they were telling me to, like the Premier protein shakes, which now you look at them and they're filled with seed oils and fillers and artificial flavors, colors, sweeteners, absolute garbage food that's just not good for you. So I did that. I did the liquid diet. I did a lot of the sugar-free jello with the artificial colors, sweeteners, flavors. Um, and then I moved into they told us to eat 1 cup of food like 5 times a day for a total of like 800 calories. So I did that. I followed the book to the T. I wanted this to succeed so much. I was so desperate to be done being big that I did exactly what they told me to. I also was already an athlete. I was already running half marathons, which by the way, people, I would not suggest running half marathons when you weigh 260 pounds. That's really hard on your body, but I did it. I was just determined to make this work. And even then, the repercussions of the surgery got in the way of it actually being fully successful. I never got to my goal weight, and I have struggled ever since because of that hypoglycemia. And I lost a baby at 20 weeks since then. I don't know if it's from the nutritional deficiencies or the inflammation that happened because of the hormones are all off now. We're missing that initial part of your intestine where you absorb your folate, your B12, and really important nutrients. So I'll never know there. I also never had milk with my babies despite trying.
Let
That's
me
the
just add
challenges.
in. Let me add in there because in my life, I've had a miscarriage. And for a woman, that is so devastating. It's like the grieving. But this is how I had to look at it, is that God was protecting me, that this embryo was not what he desired it to be, but it had more to do with my body. It's like, listen, even at that time, whether it's before, after the surgery or anything, we're putting the wrong stuff in our bodies, but we want our bodies to perform at top level. You want your body to perform at top level, even though you're not doing top level things for it to perform that way. Unfortunately, we've been taught just so badly in regards to this food that we're supposed to take in. And it's, yeah, okay, this your turn. Go ahead. Go ahead.
I
Wait,
was
where?
just gonna say too, with every single baby, I was doing the utmost healthiest that I could find. I was eating the low carb stuff. I was eating the fruits, the veggies, the sugar free, and turns out a lot of that stuff isn't healthy. The almond milk, the kale, the spinach, it's all full of oxalates and super inflammatory. I had no idea. I thought I was doing the very best for those babies. But I have one more point on this, which is I had a fabulous surgeon. I am not mad at him. I think he's a wonderful man. He was one of the first people to look at me like I was a human and I'm here to help. And instead of saying you're overweight because of all the food you ate, he said you're overweight because of this, this, and this, which was much more at a human level. Like he really loves people and he was there to help. So I went back to him after I lost a baby at 20 weeks, which by the way, the genetics came back perfect. Everything was fine until one day the baby was gone. And I asked him, could this be from the surgery? He said, there are no studies. They do not do studies on this. There's no studies that he knew of at that time on people who had had gastric bypass or bariatric surgery and later on went to have pregnancy. So if you're ever planning on having kids, you should keep in mind there's all there is stories from me and you, and I'm telling you, I lost a baby at 20 weeks after I had my surgery. So, is it from the surgery? I'll never be able to prove it, but there's no data out there. So, if you're still of childbearing age, you need to keep that in mind.
Oh, girl, that is very good. All right, I'm going to move forward in regards to my eating patterns and my food choices. Uh, for me, we had to go to a nutritionist. We had to see. I had to have therapy and all this other stuff. And it's ironic that I only had one therapy session. I went in and she just looked at me and said, not, I mean, after we spoke, because I had every right answer. I've gone up and down the scale, and I know what it is that I want. I've talked with my family, which was only my husband. So my mother died 2 years ago, not knowing that I had this surgery, because I felt like sharing that meant I was a failure, that I could not do this on my own, and that it was a slight form of cheating. But then once I had the surgery, guys, first of all, there was no cheating. When you go through the pain of recovery, the pain of they have stapled and cut my stomach. Now I have to be mindful of what's going down in it, because I don't want to rupture anything and end up back in the hospital. And we've shared those stories with people that has happened to. So I didn't want that. Of course, you're going to lose weight, because I'm sipping on things to make sure that I don't send myself back to the hospital. When I think about what I did then compared to where I am now, I could have done this without the surgery. We'll talk about that later. Strategies that I found helpful. I really didn't, because I never understood the true relationship I had with food. I didn't understand it. How can I say that to you? Because I was so willing to try so many different things. Right now, you can't get me to try anything else. So I was so willing to try so many. Did it again. so willing to try so many different things. Just say switch. So willing to try so many different things. And so this was just like one more thing. I did lose the weight. I showed this picture earlier. I'll show it again. I did lose weight. That's over to the left. You'll see where I started. Girl, you couldn't tell me nothing. Look at 2014. At this point, I was like 164 pounds. I know because I got those banners on my shirt for my 50th birthday, and I changed outfits a couple of times. But then the weight start, believe it or not, if you notice, a lot of this is standing off to the side or something like that, cross the legs. I had become a champ, but look at my arm right here. So if I turn sideways, well, on this one, I just said bump it. And so as you can see, but I'm standing on one leg and all of that. There are ways for big people to pose and not look like the biggest one in the room. And I had that thing mastered, honey. And plus, if you pay attention, my face has always been slim. This is the last thing to gain weight. That's when I know, uh-oh, I've arrived. I already know if it's in the face, I'm either married to this much 198 or 201, somewhere in there. For me. So the strategy has been over this period of time trying to still calorie count, be in a calorie deficit, and it still didn't work. It still didn't work. What about, let me see, I think you had
Can I
shared
tell you?
some. Go right ahead.
Um, there's a couple things that I forgot to mention on the dietary was what happened after I did the protocol. Because now I'm seeing this in all the groups because you can only do the protocol for so long. You can only eat 800 calories for so long. And eventually the cravings start coming because you're eating less than a baby. That's not appropriate for the humans to be eating 800 calories. If you're thinking to yourself, man, I would be skinny if I could just eat 800 calories. That's maybe a third of what you should be eating a day as an adult human being who needs to be nourished. So that never lasts for anyone. And so once the 800 calories thing didn't work, I started, eating, let's say, adding shakes in, adding cheese in because I needed calories, I needed nutrition. So I started having difficulty specifically with meats. Meats have always hurt my little pouch that's left. And so I would find myself eating more plant foods, more processed foods because they break down in your mouth and your gut really really easy and they don't hurt. So literally up to becoming carnivore, I didn't realize I was doing this, but I was eating a mostly plant-based diet and processed foods, even though they were healthy processed foods, the healthy ones, not the unhealthy ones. I didn't eat Doritos. I ate cauliflower chips. I didn't drink full fat milk. I had almond milk. I was eating the healthy stuff. And so up to here, this is an issue was eating meat hurt up until going carnivore. Also some things that changed. You can't have ice cream anymore because you'll get that dumping syndrome. So I've never even tried full sugar ice cream because every single human I've talked to who's had gastric bypass has said regular ice cream makes me incredibly sick. Now, are there some sugar-free options or something? Maybe, I don't know, but that there's some foods that you can just never eat again without feeling sick. For me, I found any liquid calories make me feel pretty awful. And I think it's because it's dumping right into our bloodstream. It doesn't have to be broken down at all. In the liquid form, it's already broken down. And because we skip that whole section of the intestine, it goes right into the bloodstream and it makes me feel awful. You can't take ibuprofen anymore. I know people who have, and they ended up with ulcers. Truly, I mean, they tell us not to do it, and you kind of think, are they being serious? I don't know. People do end up with ulcers, and then there's the whole alcohol talk that changes for a lot of bariatric people afterwards. So, those are some of the dietary changes. Now, let's talk about long-term health and wellness. You want to start, G?
Sure. But this time I remember to switch us. All right. So what am I finding for the long term? Well, I showed you that my long term caught up with me 11 years later. I didn't do it. I listen to what you say, what you are saying, how you follow that protocol. I'm the one that I know better than the people that, yeah. So I'm the one that, like I said, I was at Panera Bread. Well, I didn't tell you where I was. I was at Panera Bread not even a week after the surgery because I was just determined to just put a small amount in. And I was finding that all foods really just irritate it just became work. Oh, and then you say, well, this is what you should expect right after surgery. There's a healing 4 to 6 weeks, all of that. And keep in mind, I'm trying to keep mine undercover that don't nobody know. So here I am going places trying to behave normal in regards to my eating. And in actuality, I was really messing me up, really messing me up. Trying to bite down on things. Then wait, the waiter or waitress is coming over, and I'm like, no, I'm just not really feeling that hungry right now. Always having an excuse, not really wanting to go out to dinner as couples because I knew I couldn't finish my plate. So I would make up things like, you know what? I before I even start, I'm just gonna eat half of my food. Go ahead and bring me a to-go container when I order mine because I and I'm always making something up because I was holding that secret. But whether I ate this amount, this amount, this amount, I still, the food, I was eating the wrong fuel. And that is the whole purpose of this show for me, is placing the right fuel inside of you where you don't have to do something as drastic as a gastric surgery. And I'm having better results because of it. So, my long term, now my struggle, which is not Adrian's struggle, whether she realizes it or not, I did this without working out. So prior to carnivore, I went to work out. I used to walk, I used to do things like that. That was like no big deal. I would walk thinking that, okay, I've walked 2, 3 miles, so I should be in a calorie deficit. So when I go in, I still can only eat a small amount, but hopefully this time I might change what I'm putting in, but I'm still eating a small amount. Yeah, that is for the birds, honestly. So for me, with I have to learn to prioritize my movement. I won't even call it exercise. It's movement. Simple things you can do. Park away from the door. This I never understood. You trying to find a front parking space to not walk from here to the door, but you get ready to walk a country mile inside of the store. It ain't like, so I never understood that. Go ahead and park back there and come on, walk on up. I've never understood that. If it's only a couple of levels, I really try to walk the stairs, 1 or 2 levels. You guys, if you've ever been on a cruise ship, I I can't stand. We already got to wait for the elevator, and then we stop at 6, and you was going down to 5, down the stairs. You couldn't do 1 level. Oh my God. Yeah, just start thinking of that. Is our bodies were not designed to start breaking down when we get a little age on us. That's not what our bodies are designed to do. But that's what's happening, all because we are putting the wrong fuel in our bodies. And I'm going to speak from the vegan aspect of it because I put a post up yesterday showing that picture that I took, talking about my journey, talking about the fibromyalgia, talking about all of these different ailments that I had after the surgery and vegan. So I had all of these issues, and now over the last past less than a year, changing how I'm eating. I'm never hungry. I have yet to eat anything saying I need to cut back. I need to do anything like that. If I want to get up at 2 o'clock in the morning and fry bacon, doggone it, I will get up at 2 o'clock in the morning and fry. Now I haven't, y'all, but I'm just saying, I'm just trying to say I eat guilt free. There, yeah, I count no calories. If I want another piece, I get another piece. If I want to, I do it. I add fat to it. I've shown you, I've sent you little things. I say, see, I actually eat with a spoon and spooning it and doing what needs to be done to fuel my body now. And so that's what I'm doing differently. What about you?
So I knew always that protein was a big deal. They tell you that, but I was eating the easiest proteins I could find. And often, sometimes that was a plant protein. I was doing pea proteins, I was doing, beans, and I loved nuts. And so I was getting proteins, a lot of plant proteins, and I was eating chicken for my animal protein because I knew I needed animal protein too. And that's what we were told the healthy meat was. So what changed me was I got really sick. The hypoglycemia, it didn't matter how much I eliminated. I've been sugar-free for 10 years. Basically, the minute that the hypoglycemia came and they told me to take sugar pills constantly, and that made me more sick, then I realized sugar isn't my friend and I cannot have sugar. So I've been sugar-free for like 10 years. Um, so I was already eating all these plants. I was basically eating a whole foods, plants and meat. I wasn't even eating a lot of fruit because that had sugar in it before this. But then I would eat like the health foods, like I was telling you, the almond milks and the plant-based products. And I got really sick. My autoimmune got horrible. And my dad said to me, listen, I know people with autoimmune, they've been going carnivore and then it calms their autoimmune down because the plants are inflaming them. And I'm like, the plants? No, I was told on The Biggest Loser we could eat as many plants as we want and just a little bit of lean meat. But the plants were never going to make us gain weight and they were healthy, they were filled with nutrition. And then I started looking into it and I found out, oh, the plant proteins they're not full proteins. Also, many of them are super processed, so they're inflammatory because plants are actually carbs. So where are they getting the protein from? They're breaking that plant down really, really far and isolating something really tiny in it. So it's highly processed. And then it was really difficult to eat the meat. But one of the things that changed my brain too was my midwife telling me that my baby needed animal fat for his brain. My dad said that too, and that he needed this red meat because it's full of nutrients, and she said it made it good blood. So if my baby needs that food, I probably need that food too. So I cut all the plants, and for the first time in my life, I've gone to all these specialists for 10 years trying to figure out how to make this hypoglycemia go away because it's not that I would drop all the time, but you could feel it under your skin that I was on the verge of dropping all the time, all 24/7. And so when I dropped the plants, that is the first relief I've ever had from that hypoglycemia, and I haven't had it since. Just cutting the plants. The plants were that inflammatory to me that and I don't that I had to cut the plants, and then the hypoglycemia went away. My skin is cleared up. I've been getting better sleep. My teeth used to be sensitive all the time, and this didn't make any sense to me because I wasn't eating sugar, and they say sugar causes cavities. I wasn't eating the sugar, but the plants were inflaming me that much that my teeth were sensitive, and they don't feel sensitive like ever anymore. I used to be really heat sensitive too in the mouth. That's gone. Um, a lot of my food reactions are gone. Um, so switching from more plant proteins to just eliminating the plants altogether and eating the nutrient dense meats has completely changed my quality of life and working towards healing some of this autoimmune stuff that really flared up from the surgery. One thing they don't talk about is that any surgery really can cause you inflammation. And if you're a sensitive, well, I mean, I was perfectly healthy before the surgery. I didn't know I had any inflammation issues at all or any autoimmune issues at all, but it really flared it. And it's really been an issue ever since the surgery. So you can go in being one of the healthy people and you can come out struggling. So those are some
Let me add real quick, because and this is staying in my mind because of the post that I made yesterday, because I am not trying to by any means offend anyone that's vegan, okay? So anyone that you have, the whole purpose is for you to find what works for you. That, there
Yes.
you go. Now, I'm going to talk about Tabitha Brown. Those that are vegan pretty much know who Tabitha Brown is. And Tabitha's part of her story, close to deathbed, and someone did a 30-day challenge with her to go vegan. And now, of course, it was a big turnaround. You can find her products in the stores and everything. But not too long ago, she did a video talking about having to go back to the doctor because some of her symptoms were coming back. And she's like, y'all, everybody pray for me, dot, 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 dot. I know that it would be difficult for her to, because of the life that she now has, riding in on as a vegan. She speaks, she has cookbooks, she has a restaurant now. I mean, when I say, and I've watched her because I had just became vegan, and someone was saying about Tabitha Brown, and she was doing little cooking things right there in her kitchen. I've watched her move from that apartment to renting a house to the home that she's in now. I mean, I've seen it. She's still doing the same thing going about, but some of her symptoms are coming back. And it is because being vegan, you can't, canned goods, all of these different things are coming into play. And there is inflammation inside of those vegetables. And we won't even get into the fruit aspect of it. And we have a gentleman in the carnivore community that the doctors push the vegetables, and he had to have his colon removed. It is on the inside, this irritable bowel. You think that you're doing it the right way. You are forcing the poop to come out, but the poop is what your body didn't use. So if you're putting it in and it's coming right back out, your body didn't use it. It did not pull those nutrients. And it's like, I want to say to Tabitha Brown, and if anyone even knows of her, try a carnivore for 30 days. You don't even have to come back and tell us that you did it. Watch how your health turns around. That is the one thing that I can say about this lifestyle. I stand on the fact that all of those ailments that I had, I no longer have. And
Mhm.
because of that, my quality of life, I always say, I feel like I'm aging backwards. I'm turning 60. I feel like that's what made me get braces, is because I'm going to use these for the next 50, 55 years and going to smile. Yes. And that's another reason why I did that. Living like this now makes me see I'm not on the down. I'm not on the other side headed down. Baby, I'm still going up. I have not plateaued yet. And I love that. So, with that, I am going to the lifestyle
Can I
impact.
say sorry,
Yeah.
can I say one more
Mm,
thing about the plant
mhm,
thing? Because you were right, I was getting really dogmatic there, and I just wanna share that that's what works for me, that for me, the plants were inflaming me. Now, Judy Cho interviewed a lady named Jane Buxton this morning on YouTube, and she wrote a book called The Great Plant-Based Con. But she said something really interesting. She said some people genetically cannot break down the nutrients in plants, and some people genetically can. So that would be why some people actually might feel okay on a plant-based diet, but some people are going to feel like garbage because they're not getting the nutrients out of those plants. I thought that was really interesting that we are not the same. We aren't. And I really encourage, first and foremost, people to go on a whole foods diet. Don't drink the premier protein drinks. Don't be eating the keto breads and the cauliflower products. The broken down cauliflower products are so inflammatory and bad for you and bad for your blood sugar. So many of the gluten-free products are actually full of potato and rice starch, which is super bad for your blood sugar and it's going to cause hormone issues, So I just want to go back to ultimately do what is best for you and keep playing around with it. I thought I was eating the healthiest diet ever, but yet I was still not feeling good, but yet I was still struggling with my weight. So you got to keep playing because you're going to be in this spectrum somewhere, but hopefully that spectrum is filled with real plants that you physically hold in your hand, not that are broken down, and real animal products.
Well,
So go
since you're
ahead.
talking, go ahead. No, talk about how do you now navigate date night and different things uh with your surgery.
Amazing. Okay, so when you like before, I was trying to eat baby portions. And it's so sad that we're cheering each other on to eat baby portions and to try to moderate. Your body is asking for something else. It's not that you're a bad person, it's that humans need to eat like 2,000 calories. And I just made that up. It's different for every person, but there's some um, calculators out there that could tell you what would be great, optimal for your body. But I don't think there's any adults really that 800 calories to 1,200 calories is appropriate. And so what you're doing is you're putting your body in starvation. Anyway, I digress. So I used to try to eat these baby portions and moderate my food, but quickly after going out to eat, I would be hungry again. And then I would be like, oh, but I already ate dinner. What's wrong with me? What's wrong with me? What's wrong with me? And then I'd have moments where I'd throw in the towel and be like, listen, I'm just sick of being hungry. So I'm just going to eat these foods. Now, when I go out to eat, I got two things to say. Number one, I order a lot of meat. I don't go to places that are going to charge me $16.99 and only give me the burger patty, but I don't get anything else. And if I wanted a second burger patty, they would charge me $16.99 because there's those places out there. The meat in the food when you go out to eat is often just an itty bitty portion instead of being the main deal. So we pick grills, we pick places where they'll let me order a la carte. And here's the crazy thing, guys. My meals are always cheaper than everybody else. My meals cost often as much as the kids' meals, but I'm getting meat. Like if you go to Applebee's, I don't remember what it is, 2.90 a burger patty and it's a half a pound. So you can order a pound of meat for like $10. Meanwhile, my husband's ordering the 16.99 plate and it comes out and it's this big and it's got a steak that's this big and it's got a little tiny pile of noodles and it's like a baby portion at Applebee's and you have to pay 16 or 24.99 and I got a pound of meat for like $10. It's the same with Buffalo Wild Wings. I ordered my burger patties. They charged me, I think, $2.40 a patty, something like that. And I ordered 4 of them. I get $10. I get all this meat. McDonald's, same thing. Now their prices vary. In some places it's $2 a patty, in some places it's $4 a patty, but you're getting the point. I can find meat everywhere and I ask for it a la carte and I ask them, please clean the grill if it's a place that uses seed oils to cook, which is most places. And I ask for no seasoning because people don't realize even pepper is kind of inflammatory and we throw it on everything. So I love going out to eat now. I love it. And then let's say I order 4 patties, I gorge myself, and if I don't eat it, I've got a snack for later. How about you, G?
Oh, yes, yes, yes. So, with that being said, I touched on it a little bit like right after the surgery. And I'm keeping this surgery a secret. And so as I'm ordering, but now 11 years later, I still don't like going out to eat like that. And the reason why is because I feel I get my best bang for my buck at home. Now,
Mhm.
I'm actually going on a girls' luncheon for those. Happy Mother's Day to everyone. This weekend is Mother's Day, so I won't see you until then. Mother's Day will have passed and I no longer have my mom. So there's a group of 3 of us, and I was the last one to lose my mom. So we're going out Friday. We're going to Bonefish Grill. So I got to look at their thing and see because I don't have a problem with being specific on what it is that I want. I let them know if there's some seed oil, I will know because it's going to send my system off because I don't eat that. And so
Mhm.
I almost let them know that I'm allergic to it. And when you say that, I'm
The
allergic to
manager
pork,
comes
baby, to
and
make
says, "What can we
sure.
do for you?"
Yeah, so you just do it like that. If you're on a cruise ship, honey, they have all meat. It's covered in your bill.
Don't you
I
think cruise ships are just carnivore paradises?
They are, and I don't know, but here's the thing, but you have to have a strictness about yourself, and that's what led me to share before uh well, let me finish my food for it. Don't, no, let me see.
Sorry.
No, why I can not cheat. I'm getting ready to share that. So I wrote that down so I don't forget. All right. So now, like Frederick and I, we like going to Hardee's for their burgers, but you have to ask, it comes off the side menu. A lot of people don't know.
Mhm.
And then there are times I have to say, okay, listen, if I ordered a burger and I just say add a patty, where would you go to add the patty? And they say, right, well, that's what I want. I just want you to keep adding patties with no burger. Just keep giving me the patties. And so, yeah, you have
'Cause
to
they are
kind of
gonna try
figure
to
it out.
charge you. They are gonna try to
Well, here's
charge
the
you for the
thing.
whole thing.
Most people don't come in and order like that. So a lot of them have never experienced. And I say, look here, we learning together, even though I already knew. But yeah, so we do that now, which leads me to why I cannot cheat. Unlike um some people where, I've had conversation, they say, girl, meat tear my stomach up. It's like, yeah, you need to work into this for your stomach acids to do what it needs to do. We've destroyed them. With everything else that you're putting over in your body, you kind of messed it up. And now that it's better for me, I don't cheat on this way of living. And here's why. When I eat a food that's off target of my carnivore lifestyle, except for jalapeno peppers. They really don't bother me, except for the little spice kick. But when I do that in a food category, my fibromyalgia, sciatic is what comes back. So some people might feel a little groggy or whatever. I get hit with pain. Unlike most people, I can't take 2 Tylenol, 2 ibuprofen. Baby, I can't take 2 Percocets and get rid of the pain. It never went away. So I'm going to hurt for 2 days. It's not like I can turn around and say, I know that'll bother my stomach. I'll go ahead and pop a Tums and keep. No, that's not my story. My story is I don't know what sets off and triggers when I eat anything off topic or off my diet. I get a horrific pain and it'll last for 1 to 2 days. That's not worth it to me. It's not like I can go take a pain pill and take care of that. So, cheating on this has not been something that I've even desired to do for the sole purpose of I don't know what's going to set my hip off. And it's just not worth it for me. It really, really isn't. And so, I think for people who have struggled with their weight, you've been up, down, up, down, up, down. You already know what your body is going to do. And I say that for anyone, whether you've had the you had the gastric sleeve or not, up, down, up, down. So even if you're a carnivore, you know if you eat off, your weight can go back up, and then you get back on. That's not my story. My weight might get back up, but I also will have pain. And that's what keeps me in line. So my story is just a little different, and I'm okay with my story. And so now to navigate, I just have to either talk with the manager or just have parties at home. But I ain't missing out
Yeah.
on nothing. But I will say this. Um, Rebecca from Carnivore Family had I interviewed her and her husband, and that's one of the things they talk about, which is so true. When I travel now, I am more in tune with the sights versus the restaurant. I get in
Yes.
so much of your country, the actual, the buildings, the ruins, whatever it is. I get time to do more of that than waiting in line at the restaurant, waiting for my order to get in, sitting down and eating, enjoying the conversation. So that could be almost up to 2-3 hours right there out of my day for that one meal, but now it ends up being something much greater. So I'll finish off with this, and
Can
then
I
you
say
can pick up. Oh, no, go right ahead.
I wanna talk about why I don't wanna go back either. So,
Hmm.
I do have to admit, one time I was feeling so I am also battling chronic inflammatory response syndrome. G and I aren't saying that the carnivore diet is going to cure everything. It can't cure certain things. It can absolutely improve your quality of life. There are stories of people with fibromyalgia, the arthritis, rheumatoid arthritis, all these different things that their pain has gone away. People who have illness because their blood sugar is so dysregulated, but the wrong tests are being running, so they don't know what the root cause is. That's going to bring you a lot. Anyway, for me, my main issue is that hypoglycemia. And if I go back, my hypoglycemia comes back. And that is a quality of life I don't want back. I don't want that back. It's like being a slave. You're scared to leave your own home. So I don't want the hypoglycemia. One time I was feeling kind of sick and I had made my kids nachos and I thought, it's mostly meat and cheese, a couple tortilla chips. That's not going to make a difference. Hypoglycemia immediately came back, hormone issues came back. I was up all night. I was sick for days. So I can't go back either. Another thing I want to say is I like to eat at home too. You do get a better bang for your buck. And you also just realize it's more than the meat thing. You kind of realize they put a lot of stuff that's making people sick in the food that we eat out. So we save a lot of money eating at home. People are like, "Oh my gosh, the meat cost." You realize you spend $6 on a bag of chips that weighs 8 ounces, versus
Listen, because I see little man on there. So
yeah, you
go
go
ahead.
ahead.
No, you go ahead and finish off any advice that you have to give, and then I'll take it from there. Go ahead.
My advice would be you haven't tried it all yet. I would suggest everybody give the meat diet a try for 30 days and see how you feel because your mind is going to be blown. But at a minimum, stop eating the healthy processed foods, the almond milks, the almond products, the protein bars that are, you know, there's whole food protein bars like the carnivore bar. That's good. But like when you look at like a Cliff bar, that's made out of soy and vegetable oil. That is not healthy. So go to a whole foods diet and focus. First thing you need to eat is your protein from animals. Ooh, one more tip. No more plant fats. I mean, even the olive oils these days are cut with vegetable oil, which is not natural to our body and is causing everybody disease. Ultimately, I think vegetable oil is the problem, not necessarily the sugar. So switch to tallow, bacon grease, duck fat, animal fats. You can get these on Amazon. You can render your own fat. I save my bacon grease, but all the things you can get on Amazon or fatworks.com. So switch your fat, please, and eat more whole foods.
Yeah, listen, my man is hanging in there. He is really, really uh
Mama, Mama, Mama,
I am not seeing how to mute myself today.
Mama.
oh, you can go. Oh, wait a minute here. Let me see. I can help you. There you go. I did it. Okay, so for me, um questions, no. Where did I just leave off? Reflections. I can't go back and change anything. I try to live my life without regrets. Uh so hey, Oaktown girl. Um I just know what works for me and that you need to find what works for you. And I'm saying that you can find what works for you without cutting off your stomach. All right. We're gonna have a guest on this month that had the band. So on this show, we're just trying to reach out and share our stories. If you have a story that you maybe the gastric is working for you. Now, let me tell you what I classify as working. That you have figured out your body. All right. So if something bothers me, I can look back in the last 24 hours and see if I had anything off topic, and I can eliminate or I can increase my fat intake. So that is how in harmony I am now, in tune with my body, unlike before. So I recommend you finding out what works for you. All right. Adrian had the gastric bypass where her intestines were rerouted. I had the gastric sleeve where they just cut off a portion of my stomach. And then there is they do the bands where they put a lap band around. So there are different things that you can have done. But the one thing that her and I do agree upon, that if we just would have went carnivore, none of this would be a topic.
Yeah,
Go
I
ahead.
I do want to say, for the first, if you talk to anybody maybe in the first 5 years, they'll say, "Yeah, I mean, this helped me so much. It changed my life. I think you should get it too." I mean, I said that up until going carnivore. So I said that for 9 years, despite being debilitated by hypoglycemia and anemia and needing infusions. I told people it's still better than being overweight. Now that I've tried this all meat diet, I'm like, no, there actually is other ways. And I've seen people very successful with the keto diet as well, but not the processed keto diet, the meat based keto diet, where it's animal fat and meat. And maybe you sprinkle a little bit of the other stuff in, but it's primarily a meat based keto diet. So there are actually diets that work. Now, the surgery isn't going to cure what's actually happening with you. You could have autoimmune stuff, it doesn't cure that. You could have lymphedema where your fat cells are encapsulated. If you feel your fat cells and you feel nodules everywhere, that's lymphedema. Your body can't access those fat cells, and it's not going to because you had a surgery. You need to go on more of a keto diet. We can dig into that sometime, but it's not going to cure certain physical things that are stopping you from losing weight, like Hashimoto's and hormone issues. It doesn't cure those things, number one. Number two, eating baby portions only lasts for so long. So that's not a lifelong thing that you can do. So this doesn't work long term. It's like 5% of people it works long term. Maybe it's less than that. I sure see a lot of people in the groups who are like, "Help, I've gained most of my weight back. What do I do?" It doesn't change your the fact that the food that we're eating is very addicting and not satiating and not full of nutrients. And so it's not going to change that you're hungry all the time. And that monster is going to knock at your door until you answer it. It doesn't change so many of the root causes of why you're overweight, which is why it's not going to work long term. Where if you were to try this meat thing, you would see like you're satiated. There's a million things you could eat. It looks like nothing in the beginning, but then you realize, oh my gosh, there's so much I can do with this. There's so many foods I can eat. You're it's just whether you go keto or whole foods or carnivore, there's ways to nourish your body that are going to be long lasting and help you with your relationship with food because it's not agitating you into addiction. So that would be the primary thing I would say.
Right. So I was just looking here at this one. So I don't know who John Venus is. So I just Jon Venus I found, and where he was vegan and went plant-based. So I don't know which video is, because I see on here he's no longer vegan. I don't see the video that you are making reference to for that. And then, yes, Lady Casca, I understand, especially during this time. Listen, I chewed out my dentist because she was bringing in all of these different trays, and at the at the front where you sign in, there's a bowl of candy.
Mhm.
And I said, really? She said, I know, but it's just you're. And I said, forget the teeth aspect of it. You're making the kids hyper. That is a true thing. You make the kids hyper and everything else, and we just need to stop it. Stop it, I say. Just stop it. That's it. I hope you guys enjoyed this show. Next week, what is it? We have do you know off the top of your head? Nope, I can tell. It is okay. It is okay. But we do have a guest for next week. We love to bring the stories of people with a gastric surgery, any modifications that you're doing to curb your appetite, what it is. You're just trying to figure out this thing called life. But I can say for me that I have now found for me to age backwards and to keep going. This is what works for me. I see other people, and moderation is of the devil. I watched a young lady briefly, and she was just talking about, oh, the avocado toast, that was good, and so on and so forth, and that was good. They're teaching you calorie deficit. I'm saying to you, I eat as much as I want. Before I came on, I had bacon and eggs. And so probably will have something. I know I will have something else later, whether it's a steak. Oh no, I got a smoked brisket in there that when I heat up, and if I put anything else in the pan, I don't care if it was a hot dog, that smoke flavor got on everything, and it was delicious. And I'm starting to water in my mouth now just thinking about it.
Can I share? Next week, we are having Michelle Hall on. She is a certified health coach. She specifically is helping people in like a keto carnivore diet who've had the surgery. Anybody, it doesn't matter whether you love or you hate your surgery, she can help you. She herself had the band and it detached and slid and became an emergency. She's had to find her way of like, how do I make this health journey lifelong? How do I really succeed here? And so she shares her story on Instagram. You could go check her out, but her story is amazing. I'm really excited that we get to have her on. She works with Coach Bronson. They have like a coaching program there. And she's also recently been on Bronson's channel if you want to go check that out at all. So we're excited to have her, and we think you're gonna love her story.
Yes.
It's
So
really
until
a story of hope.
that is another thing, giving you hope. First, I just want people, listen, I turned a cartwheel. I'm turning 60. And I've always said that, but if I would have tried that cartwheel and had all that weight on me, or I just know I would have collapsed right down on the ground. I really would have. And it probably would have gone viral because I still would have posted it. But in the meantime, and in between time, we appreciate you guys tuning in with us. We will see you all next week. What do you have going on, Adrian? What is some
Tonight,
things?
we have something called Carnivore Connection with Coach Rose AJ. She's fabulous. And as we listen to each other's story, we realized that we had a lot in common. So tonight, we're going to talk about some trauma that we've had. So it's going to be really personal. And, nobody likes to talk about those things and how they affect you physically, mentally, how they affect your success in life, and how we've overcome these things. I think that's the big thing I have. And then next week, Lioness Lifestyle Live.
Yes, for me, I am going to Dr. Bright, and I want to talk about. I like talking about the things that nobody else is talking about. I want to talk about the hormones. I want to talk about menopause. I want to talk about sex drive, libido, whatever it is. So I am going to just really.
Wow.
I love talking about that. Why? Because we talk about all these other different things that's changing with our bodies as we're getting older and fueling it the right way. So I want to fuel those conversations too. So I don't know how you guys found us, but I'm hanging with the Browns. We got the Biggest Loser Carnivore, and look for us because we got some things to talk about. Until next time, we shall see you